quick little episode of con etiquette and that kind of stuff for Cosplay Starting Zone. I want to touch on 2 points that I find are very important that a lot of people don't pay attention to. One of them is credit where credit is due, which actually is very important because it's not only for the person who actually made what you're wearing, but also because you can get banned from competitions and get your group banned if you happen to lie about this. And the other one is another thing about costuming. So I'll just touch on both of those. Alright, first of all, giving credit where credit is due. I don't want to call anyone out, so I'm not going to mention the name personally, but most of you know of a certain person who always has been dishonest with where she got her costumes, claiming she made them, and she's very famous in the cosplay community because, yes, she does look good in her cosplays, but she didn't make them, and she claims she did. You shouldn't do this because, first of all, let me explain a little bit about Hall of Costume and Masquerade rules. Each convention has their own set. Some of them are a little unfair, like that you can't be from anything that's not anime, and all that. And again, they have their reasons, but I still think it's unfair. Anyway, point being, some have rules like that, but every single one universally has the rule. Either you or someone in the group had to have made your costume, and the person being judged is the designer and the person who sewed it, not the person who is wearing it. Ideally, this is to keep it so the judging is solely based on craftsmanship and not weight, race, height, hair color, eye color, complexion, all that kind of stuff, the list goes on. So, yeah, basically there's a reason, and also because it wouldn't be fair if a factory-made cosplay from some Asian sweatshop won over something that someone painstakingly hand-stitched that was almost as good, but wasn't factory sewn. So, basically, the rules of almost every cosplay competition at any convention say that the costume must be handmade. But sometimes people do flout that rule and enter with a costume made by someone else. Make no mistake, you will get caught because there will always be something in a factory that you don't have. Like, factory-made costumes or costumes made by people who do this as their business will often have used things like a serger, which a good one of those is really expensive, and a heavy-duty sewing machine, so there wouldn't be as much puckering and all that kind of stuff. Admittedly, my sewing machine is a piece of crap, and so I only just got it to work well enough that I can do commissions without them being messed up. But here, one moment, I'll show you the difference between something factory-made and something hand. Alright, to be fair, we're going to use the same exact costume piece, basically. Well, almost. One of them is in-game model, the other is comic book model. Alright. This is a Jaina Proudmoore Bolero from Human Go on eBay. As you can see, it doesn't really look so much like Jaina Proudmoore's actual costume, because, again, it's a sweatshop, and so they don't put as... Well, I don't know if it's a sweatshop or not. Human Go seems pretty good, but still, it's a factory. But, see, here's a serged hem, and as you can see, while the outside doesn't look so accurate and is made of stuff that Jaina's costume would not be made out of, it is, however, very nice on the inside. It's lined, serged stitches, zipper is machine sewed, everything is very crisp and clean. Then I remade it myself because I thought I could make it look a little bit more elegant. So here's Jaina's Bolero handmade by me. And as you can see, while yes, it is a little crisp and clean on the inside because I turned it inside. I turned the lining inside out so that it wouldn't show the hem as much. You can see that I hand stitched on this jeweled part, and that looks a teensy bit sloppy. There's a little bit of stuff I need to trim off here, and as you can see, the hem is not sewed. But again, that's because I work out of my home on a regular, ordinary sewing machine that anyone can afford, and still I do my best to make my costumes very accurate. But as you can imagine, it would be very unfair in a competition for someone let's say someone a little bit more talented than me, who works really hard to do a costume like that, only they have made also, let's say they're cosplaying Angelamon. That's a costume I've always wanted to make, but I think it'd be too hard for me. Like literally since I was 8, I've wanted this costume. But anyway, say someone makes a really good Angelamon costume, and it is perfect. Every detail is great. However, there's one that's sort of as good, but it's technically more perfect in that the stitches and hemming are better. Why should that one win just because it was made on a factory machine when the other one is more accurate? Also, again, I hate to point out the worst part of this, but let's ignore for a fact that there are craftsmen who are actually, and craftswomen, who are actually working really hard on their costumes, slaving over a sewing machine all day, just to lose to a factory-made costume. Let's ignore that for a second. You are taking credit for something that you did not make if you enter a contest with a factory-made costume. You are taking this, that someone on an industrial sewing machine way over in Hong Kong spent arguably a lot of time on for very little money, and you are claiming that you made it yourself. And they are going to call you on that shit. They will ask you what kind of fabric all this is, and if you don't know, and if you don't know what a serger is or how to serge, or you obviously don't have a serger, then you are going to get caught, and you can get banned from competing for the rest of your life, pretty much. You can even get banned from the con if you get belligerent about it. But anyway, point being, it is never fair and it is never right to take credit for something someone else did, and it's also not fair to enter a contest with a costume that is not at least mostly handmade. I understand if you can't make boots, I understand if you can't make hats. I used to not be able to make hats, and I still can't for the life of me make shoes, I have to alter them. But the point is, you should at least, if you're going to enter a contest, have some hand in your costume. Moving on. Okay, so my next topic is gonna be people in costumes they got at Spirit Halloween, or people whose costumes aren't exactly the best. Maybe it's their first pass at using a sewing machine, or even hand sewing. Look, here's the thing. At a convention, people are away from their homes, sometimes a whole plane ride away, and there is no way for them to get home and get more film, or they don't have their laptop to download all the images they took onto their camera, so that they have more space for new images. But whatever the circumstances, some people don't have a means to, take as many pictures as they'd like, so they're going to save their camera for the very best. I made my peace with that very early on, that an absolute picture-perfect Bahamut outfit is going to get a lot more attention than my little Jaina Proudmore costume. So, you've got to accept that unless the person is a huge fan of the series and your costume is awesome, you're not going to get as many pictures as you probably have seen other people get. Look on cosplay sites and Tumblrs that focus on it. What you're going to see is either a lot of amazing, blow your mind, blow you out of the water cosplays, or a lot of tragically terrible cosplays. So, really, your costume has to be in that spectrum for there to be a whole lot of pictures. And again, even sometimes if you hand make your costume or get a really nice costume made from a commissioner or overseas or something, you'll still get a lot of pictures because there are people who do have the means to take a lot of pictures and they just like the character or think you're good looking as a character and all that stuff. And so, you will still get pictures taken. But when you show up in a Spirit Halloween Chun-Li costume, that's when you should stop expecting pictures unless you're incredibly hot. Or incredibly hilarious in it. But, point being, people can see that every year on Halloween, and at a convention, it's kind of more people showcasing their skills or how accurate they can be of the character. Spirit Halloween costumes really aren't all that accurate. Like, I mean, if you get something like the Sucker Punch costumes, you're probably a little bit better off than if you get something like the Street Fighter ones, because at least the Sucker Punch costume Spirit sells aren't shoddy as far as material. Well, yeah, they are, but it's not as obvious, it's not shiny. But anyway, point being, if alright, let's use Sucker Punch as an example, actually. Let's say Sweet Pea. So, someone has the Spirit Halloween Sweet Pea costume, Spirit Halloween wig, Spirit Halloween costume, Spirit Halloween prop. And then say someone actually fashioned real leather or metal armor for the shoulder pad, made the costume themselves, made the sword themselves, which is a bitch and a half to do, by the way, as someone who's made about 6 swords this year for commissions alone, and has got their own wig, whether they styled it or bought it, I don't really care. Wigs are kind of hard to do yourself, so. Anyway, the Sweet Pea that has the handmade costume is going to get much more attention because hers will be much higher quality and much more screen accurate. The point is, if you go in a Spirit Halloween costume or something because you're on a budget, go for the fun of dressing up. Don't go expecting everyone to take your picture and think you're amazing because you're gonna get judged. I really hate to admit this because conventions should be about fun and fandom camaraderie and all that stuff, but you're gonna get judged. The cosplay community as a whole has a lot of drama, cattiness, bitchiness, all that kind of thing. And it's not fair, it's not cool, everyone should just be allowed to cosplay and have fun. But, as long as they're not endangering themselves or others. But, there's a lot of competition and there's a lot of drama, and to be honest, if you go in a Spirit Halloween costume or a shoddy looking costume, you can expect a lot of it. And that's just how it is. Is it fair? No, but I'm just informing you, and it'll be all the better for you if you're there in a Spirit Halloween costume or a shoddy costume because of a budget. If you just kind of relax and enjoy the whole dressing up aspect and don't expect a lot of pictures or compliments or anything. My first year I was Chibity from G Gundam. My costume was great because my grandma helped me with it a lot, but my hair looked horrible because I had been allowed to dye my hair blue that year, and so I painted in the pink streak, and I sewed a star onto a red t-shirt. I redid a pair of old jeans, got a pair of red Converse, handpicked a bunch of buckwheat and carried it around in a little plastic bag so I could always have one in my mouth, and even had boxing gloves that I hung off my shoulder. Oh man, I was obsessed with G Gundam. But anyway, point being, I went as Chibity, and my costume was okay for a little 12-year-old who's never cosplayed before, but it wasn't completely amazing like some of the other cosplays that were there. So I just enjoyed getting pictures of other people. I got Allenby, I think Domon and Rain, um, a couple of um, a couple of Star Wars guys, the Ghostbusters. That was Otakon 04, I think. Or was it 03? I don't know. I'd check my tags that are still hanging on my wall, but whatever. Anyway, it was a really long time ago, but the point is it was so much fun, and that was because I gave up caring if anyone wanted my picture or not, and I just had fun taking other people's pictures, meeting voice actors, going to a dealer's room, and being an adorable little 12-year-old completely out of water holding my mommy's hand at the convention center. Anyway, point being, when you go to a convention, it should always be for fun, but especially if you're on a budget and everything. Don't go just for attention. Alright, so that is my cosplay starting zone for today. I guess it wasn't really etiquette so much as costuming. And I promise that once I have a video camera and someone to do some filming, then I will take some tutorial videos of stuff that I do. Like, I've been doing a lot of polymer clay jewelry recently, and also I've been doing a lot of Franken patterns and, altered patterns and everything recently, so yeah, I'll show you some of that later.